Hello YouTube, ZeroMagnumX here. Welcome to my new segment called Monday Magic. This is just covering Magic the Gathering. This may or may not be a weekly thing, but to give it a start, I figured I'd feature a deck. I went 2-1 with it. We only had 8 players. My first game, I lost bad to Wormcoil Engine, unfortunately, but I also was like getting nothing. And I mean literally nothing. I had him down to 4 life, I think turn 3 or 4, and then he just promptly played Wormcoil Engine, and it was hard to get ahead of that. Game 2, it was against Green White Humans. That's a Friday Night Magic report of this week. And I beat him in 3. And then game 3, I 2-0'd this kind of bad mono black deck that I helped the person figure out what he needs for the deck, and then we played a real game and I still managed to get him in 3. So those were the matchups. This is by the title you can tell it's going to be a blue-white Exalted. Before I start, there are no Sublime Archangels in this deck because in this kind of deck I'm not entirely convinced it's useful, because I run enough Exalted creatures that they have value, and Sublime Archangel might only be giving like 2 creatures Exalted out of the rest of them, and I know that's 2 more points of damage and it can matter, but this deck is supposed to hopefully win by turn 4, 3 or 4, by playing like 2 Exalted guys, things like that. It's supposed to be fast. And I'll go over the deck now. Hopefully you guys like it. It's a test deck. I want to make that the first thing to note. The second reason I'm also not running Sublime Archangel is because there's too many answers to it right now. Doomblade, Murder, Vapor Snag, Day of Judgment. There's a lot of cards that would get rid of it that I'd rather just not waste it and run right into a Vapor Snag or a Mana Leak or something like that for the deck. So here's the deck. We have 4 champions because he's very good for a deck like this. We have 4 Doom Travelers. This card is what won me most of my games tonight. You'd be really, really surprised at how good this card is. Maybe people aren't, but basically you play this next turn. If you play your Knight or your Raven Squire or whatever, this becomes Delver. So it's really hard to race, and this thing was swinging for 5 and 6 damage and making my opponents trade like big things to get rid of it. So 4 of this guy. It's so great turn 1ing this and then doing Thalia next turn, and which 4 Thalia on the deck. It is White Weenies, guys. I mean, it's White Weenie Exalted. 4 Raven Squires because they are bird soldiers, so it helps me get that 3 damage in. 4 Knight of Glory. He was an all-star versus that mono black control deck, and he got in there. And then finally, for the 2 drops, I believe this is it, 4 Invisible Stalker, because that's my answer for Delver when I gotta play it. And my locals just flood it with Delver decks before. 2 guys to St. Traph's, and 1 Hero Blade Hold to curve out, because it's the one-woman army, I guess you could call her. Alright, now we have 3 Ajani Color of the Prides. It's Exalted. He works perfectly with it. This sword is for locals. I run 3 swords. I'm choosing Body and Mind because there's a lot of green-blue decks there. Had I known that Mono Black Control was going to show up, I probably would have gotten Feast and Famines. Just something to consider. But there's a lot of Delver and a lot of red-green aggro, so that's why I put this into the deck. And I know under Exalted and with Flying and Double Strike, Sword of War and Peace is very valuable. But I also poured a lot of money into Johnny's That's the first thing. And the second thing is that I want to get swords so I have every color so I can move them in and out of my sideboard. I'd probably do 2 War and Peace, 2 Feast and Famine, and 2 Body and Mind, taking up 6 slots. And I'd probably main deck like 3 of the swords, so it'd be whatever extra slots are left. So then that way you have the access to deal with whatever you're playing against. If it's mono black control, obviously you want the pro black stuff so you can just swing through. Okay, lands, 4 sea chromes. Okay. 3 glacials, 4 Cavern of Souls. This deck is kind of sort of budget, but it's not at the same time. I do need to get the other swords, but I don't know if I want to invest with them with things rotating in like 2 months, 3 months, something like that. 4 Cathedral of Wars, 7 plains, and then 1 island. That's the deck, and I hope you guys liked it. Sorry that this is a little bit longer, but I did spend 2 minutes talking about some of the choices and why I run them. And I hope you guys enjoyed the blue-white Exalted white weenies, and ZeroMagnumX out. Peace, YouTube. Take care and have a good time.